Magandang buhay mga kapara. Today what we are going to discuss is all about ciliates and coccygeans. And to start with, let us have our learning outcomes. Number one is to recall the morphology, life cycle, pathogenesis, epidemiology of ciliates and coccygeans, and to distinguish the diagnostic features of each class of ciliates and coccygeans. To start with, let's have first the overview of what are miscellaneous protozoans. Okay? But before that, I would like to make it clear that Balantidium coli, okay, Balantidium coli is a ciliate, okay? And as we all know, this is the only pathogenic ciliated parasite to human, and the rest are considered as miscellaneous protozoans, or what we call coccidians. It will be nice for us to have first a definition of terms so that we will be able to understand what are the meaning of these terms as we use in the succeeding slide. Number one is we have the cilia. If you still remember the pseudopods and we have the flagella, okay, cilia is like flagella. Cilia is like the pseudopods. It is the organ of locomotion of our ciliates. However, if we are going to describe the length of flagella as compared to cilia, cilia is a smaller as compared to flagella. Okay? So cilia is a hair-like cytoplasmic extension that can be found, no, in our or in the body of our um, miscellaneous protozoans or in the cytoplasm, no, of our miscellaneous protozoans. And these cilia or a hair-like projection aids the motility of our parasites. On the other hand, we have ciliates. Ciliates are the parasites that moves by the means of cilia, meaning to say they have this cilia, no? And like what I've said a while ago, Balantidium coli is the only pathogenic ciliated parasite to human. Okay, please take note of that. Balantidium coli is the only ciliated parasite, no, to human. We also have your coccidias. No, coccidians or coccidia occurs the sexual reproduction outside the human host, while sexual reproduction occurs inside, no, inside the human host. Asexual outside, sexual inside. Okay, and they are often referred as the coccidian protozoans or sometimes the miscellaneous protozoans. You also have your macronucleus and micronucleus. This is a kidney bean shape. If that is a macronucleus, that's a large kidney bean shaped nucleus, and sometimes appears as a hyaline mass, especially if the parasite or the fecal sample is not stained. Okay. On the other hand, we have the micronucleus, which is a dot-like structure, which is often readily visible and located adjacent to the macronucleus. This is something like this. Your macronucleus is a kidney bean shape, and above the macronucleus, we have there the micronucleus. Okay? Now, sporoblast is the developing morphologic form within the oocyst. This is a roundish, immature sac and contains discrete nucleus and granular cytoplasm. On the other hand, we have our sporocyst. This is a mature form of sporoblast. Okay? These are morphological forms of our coccidians. Okay? If sporozoites contains a mature sac with 4 sausage sporozoites. Okay? Now, how about gametomy? Okay? Gametomy is a formation of macrogametocytes and microgametocytes in which resulting gametocytes develop from the oocyst. Take note of the macrogametocytes and microgametocytes. Macrogametocytes is the female gametes and microgametocytes is the male gametes. Okay? Tachyzoid is an actively multiplying form of trophozoites in human where the internal organelles are not readily visible. Tachyzoid, bradyzoids are all morphological forms of trophozoites. On the other hand, we have your bradyzoids. Now, if tachyzoids is the active, a bradyzoids is the slow-growing viable form of trophozoites in the human, in which hundreds to thousands enclose themselves in the cyst. Best example of a parasite that has a bradyzoids and tachyzoids is our Toxoplasma gondii. Later, we'll see the structure of Toxoplasma gondii, and you will be able to see what is the difference between the tachyzoids and the bradyzoids. But for now, I want you to take note that tachyzoids are the active multiplying form of trophozoites, wherein the organelles are not visible. On the other hand, we have your bradyzoids, which is a slow-growing viable form of trophozoites. Okay, so we have the phylum Pseudophora and class Kinetomagnifora, and that is your Balantidium coli. Now we have your Apicomplexa and we have your Sporozoa. Okay. So if you still remember yung sporozoans natin, kasama dito sino? Sina Plasmodium. Okay. So under this, we have your intestinal species such as your Isospora belli, Sarcocystis species, Cryptosporidium parvum, and Toxoplasma gondii being a tissue species. Okay, we also have your Blastocystida or Blastothea. We have your Blastocystis hominis, and we have Pneumocystis jirovecii, which is now classified as a fungus. Okay, let's start it with Balantidium coli, the only ciliated parasite known to human. Like what I've said, now this is the largest. Take note also of this one. This is the largest protozoans that can be found in the human stool. Okay, so we have there your Balantidium coli range from 28 to 152 micrometers in length, 22 to 123 micrometers in wide. It is also motile since it is equipped with cilia, and the motility of our Balantidium coli trophozoites is rotary and boring. Take note of this that it is the trophozoite of Balantidium coli is equipped with what we call uh, presence of two nucleus, being the macronucleus and the micronucleus. When we said micronucleus, that is a small spherical shape that can be found adjacent to our macronucleus. And when we said macronucleus, that is a kidney bean shape. No? But we have to make sure and we have to take note that in some cases wherein the stool is not stained, macronucleus appears as the glycogen mass of the other protozoans. Okay, there is a what we call cytostome visible in the cytoplasm of the Balantidium coli trophozoite, and it is useful into differentiating or to differentiate, no, or to distinguish the presence of Balantidium coli. Okay, what else? On the cytoplasm of our Balantidium coli, there are ingested vacuoles, bacteria, as well as food. Okay, and the cytoplasm of the Balantidium coli, no, the outer cell wall of Balantidium coli is covered with cilia. Okay? Lahat po, buong cytoplasm or cell wall of our Balantidium coli is rounded with a cilia, and that cilia is the organ of locomotion of our Balantidium coli trophozoite. Now, how about for the Balantidium coli cyst? It is nice to know that it is 43 to 66 micrometers in wide. And again, there is the presence of two nucleus, one being the macronucleus and the other one is the macronucleus. The macronucleus of the Balantidium coli cyst is usually present, while the micronucleus of the Balantidium coli cyst is sometimes not observable or not seen, okay, because of its staining characteristics, hindi po siya masyadong nakikita. Another thing is the Balantidium coli cyst is also equipped with cilia. However, no, the cilia of Balantidium coli is enclosed with cyst wall. Meaning to say, even though that it is equipped with what we call cilia, it is not capable of motility or moving because the cilia is enclosed with another cell wall. Okay? Meaning to say, there are two cell wall in the Balantidium coli cyst, the inner cell wall and the outer cell wall. The outer cell wall is the one that covers the cilia, and the inner cell wall is the one where the cilia is attached. Okay? Take note also that there is a contractile vacuole that can be found in the cyst of Balantidium coli. Since Balantidium coli is the only pathogenic intestinal cilia or parasite or cilia, yeah, into human, the specimen of choice that will be useful in order for us to detect the presence of Balantidium coli is no other than the presence of its trophozoites or cysts in the stool. Okay? Direct fecal smear or stool analysis will give us a better result or a better sample in order for us to detect the presence of Balantidium coli cyst or even the Balantidium coli trophozoite. Sigmoidoscopy is another good example in order for us to visualize the presence of our Balantidium coli. Okay? Multiple samples may be required to confirm parasite presence or the absence. Now, how about for the life cycle of the parasite? It is nice to know, no, that the life cycle of Balantidium coli, no, starts when the human ingests a food that is being contaminated by the cyst of the Balantidium coli. Like your parasites or your amoebas, Balantidium coli cyst is considered as the infective stage of Balantidium coli, be it in food or be it in water. Now, after the ingestion of a food contaminated with the cyst of Balantidium coli, it will now emerge into our gastrointestinal tract, wherein there will be what we call encystation, the morphological form, no, from cyst to trophozoite, and there will be what we call binary fission, which will divide the trophozoite into two cells, being to multiplication, no, for multiplication. Okay. Take note again that the infective stage of Balantidium coli is the cyst. Okay, so this is how Balantidium coli uh, multiply in our intestine. So again, the cyst from the environment will undergo what we call encystation. And when we said encystation, it means that the morphological transformation, okay, or rather excistation from from cyst to trophozoite, so that the trophozoite form of Balantidium coli will be able to multiply by binary fission. Okay, and as we all know, the trophozoite form of the parasite is the multiplication stage, the feeding stage, and this is also the morphological form that is responsible of causing invasion in the tissue, causing the dissemination of Balantidium coli into other organs. It is nice to know that what you call this? Pig is the reservoir host of the Balantidium. Take note that pig serves as a reservoir host of different parasites. In fact, there are a lot of what you call this? There are a lot of protozoans that can be found on the pig. Okay? Marami po tayong protozoans na nakikita sa baboy. Okay? And I'm going to give you the list of parasites that can be found in pig. Okay? Now, so after the binary fusion, the protozoan will multiply. And once that the parasite is not capable to survive because of the changes in the external environment, what will happen is that it will change or it will multiply. No, it will transform into its another morphological form, which is what we call encystation. Okay? Mag-encystation po ang ating parasite to be back into cystic stage. Again, take note that the tropozoites, okay, and the cyst can be found in the stool sample of a patient. Balantidium coli, the life cycle is almost similar with the life cycle of Entamoeba histolytica. Okay, the multiplication stage does not occur in the cystic stage, but rather in the tropozoite stage. Okay, excistation occurs in lumen, and once outside, the cyst can survive for even a week in the outside environment. The mode of transmission is ingestion of contaminated food. Usually, they referred is the pork, which is the reservoir host of the Balantidium coli. On the other hand, water in the infective or water with infective stage is also one of the mode of transmission of Balantidium coli. Oral fecal route or person to person are the modes of transmission of Balantidium coli. However, new evidences suggest that pig may not be the primary source of the infection, but rather just the reservoir, which allows the continuity of the life cycle of the parasite without being directly involved in the life cycle of the parasite. Food handlers appears to be the person-to-person spreading the source of the infection. Balintidiasis is the condition that is associated with Balantidium coli. It is an infection which is characterized by mild colitis and diarrhea with full-blown disease that mimics amoebic dysentery. Okay, mahalagang tandaan na almost similar ang life cycle ng Balantidium coli sa Entamoeba histolytica. That's why it is also capable of causing what we call abscess and ulcerations. No? Abscess and ulcerations that is seen in Entamoeba histolytica. That's why a person with balantidiasis is also capable of causing what we call secondary bacterial infections because of the lacerations and ulcerations in the intestine, which is an opportunity for the microorganisms or bacteria in the intestine to cause an infection. A acute stage or acute infection with Balantidium coli can last for up to 15 days, wherein the patient will experience a liquid stool per day that contains pus, mucus, and blood. No, there is a pus. When we said pus, it means that that is your uh, WBC. Mucus, the same thing with our Entamoeba histolytica na stool, no? Yung stool ng person with Entamoeba histolytica, merong mga mucus or merong mga mucoid and blood because of the ulcerations and abscess caused by Balantidium coli trophozoite. Chronic infection can result into a tender colon, anemia, cachexia, okay, occasional diarrhea with alternating constipation. How could you imagine, guys? You have diarrhea, no? You are experiencing diarrhea because of Balantidium coli trophozoite, or because of Balantidium coli infection. However, there are cases that, most especially in chronic infection, you have the diarrhea, excessive excretion of the stool, and at the same time, you experience constipation. How painful it is. Okay. Now I have a question, sir. What do you mean by cachexia? It means that it is a weakness and wasting of the body that is due to severe chronic illnesses, that is seen in cases of balantidiasis. Now, since that our Balantidium coli is capable of causing abscess and lacerations into our intestine, and the dissemination of Balantidium coli will be possible because of the laceration entry that will allow the parasite to proceed or to enter into the bloodstream. The spread of Balantidium coli can be seen into liver, lungs, pleura, mesenteric nodules, and urogenital tract. For the treatment that will prevent Balantidium coli, usually asymptomatic patients have a good recovery, good chances of recovery. Balantidium coli, since this is a protozoan, metronidazole is one of the best medication that can be given to a patient with balantidiasis. Iodoquinol or even oxytetracycline can be a useful medication for a patient with balantidiasis. Next in line is we have the Isospora belli oocyst. Isospora belli oocyst measures 25 to 35 micrometers long to 10 to 15 micrometers wide. It is a transparent, appears as transparent, most especially in a stained smear, wherein you can only see the sporozoites, the sporocyst that contains the sporozoites. Okay? Clear po or transparent ang ating Isospora belli, and what can be seen in the stool sample, most especially if the stool sample is being stained, you will be able to see two mature sporocysts that contains our sporozoites. Now, take note also that it is important for us to remember that Isospora belli oocyst is enclosed with a double wall or the double layered cell wall. Okay? Typically, a young oocyst contains two sporoblasts, while mature oocyst contains two sporoblasts, and each sporoblast is containing four sporozoites, a sausage-shaped sporozoites in each sporocyst. The laboratory diagnosis includes the detection of our oocyst in fresh stool and even in the duodenal aspirates. Enterotest, the same thing as what we are doing into our Giardia lamblia, wherein the patient will ask to consume a capsule with string, and after an incubation for quite some time, that string will be pulled so that the patient will be able to produce duodenal aspirates, and that is through what we call enterotest or what we call uh, enterotest or what we call string test. On the other hand, the removal of intracellular stages of the parasite can be seen in intestinal biopsies. Okay? Wet preparation is also preferable, but however, iodine is preferred because since the cell wall or the cytoplasm of Isospora belli is transparent, we will not be able to see it, most especially if we are going to use saline preparation. That's why it is recommended to use iodine prep or Lugol's iodine in order for us to visualize fully the presence of the oocyst because the cytoplasm is transparent. Concentration techniques available for our Isospora belli includes the use of the Sheeter's sugar flotation test which uses saturated solution of sugar. Permanent stain will also be useful since the transparency of its cytoplasm will give us a difficulty in assessing the parasite. Therefore, permanent staining such as auramine, rhodamine, permanent stain, and a modified acid-fast bacilli will give us a better visualization of what is Isospora belli. Okay, remember, transparent with two sporozoites, sporocysts, no, immature, two sporocysts, mature, two sporocysts with four sausage-like or sausage-shaped sporozoites in the sporocyst. That is your Isospora belli, 25 to 35 micrometers long and 10 to 15 micrometers wide. Okay, so intermediate host of Isospora belli contains pig or includes pig and cattle. Men is usually the definitive host wherein a sexual and sexual reproduction can occur. Okay, take note, man is is a definitive host wherein sexual and asexual reproduction can occur. The mode of transmission includes ingestion of a food that is contaminated with mature oocysts. Take note that the mature oocyst of our Isospora belli is considered as this infective stage of Isospora belli. And it is interesting to note that sporozoites emerge into intestine that causes infection to human. Asexual reproduction occurs and results into a merozoites. Okay? The formation of gametocytes occurs that unite and form oocysts. Mature oocysts pass into the outside environment via feces, and then the oocysts mature in the outside environment. Oral anal sexual contact may also be the mode of transmission or transmission route of your Isospora belli. So this is the life cycle of our Isospora belli. Remember, a patient suffering from AIDS or from AIDS via unprotected oral anal sexual result infections now considered as opportunistic. What do we mean by opportunistic? When we said opportunistic microorganisms, from the word itself opportunistic, opportunista sila. When you are weak, that's the time they will invade and cause infection to you. And as we all know, patients suffering from AIDS or acute immunodeficiency syndrome, autoimmune immunodeficiency syndrome, no, uh, ay ano, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome ay ano, ito po yung may mga mahihina immune system. Kasi yung mga CD4, ay yung mga T cells natin, ini-invade ng mga ng virus ng HIV, no? Human immunodeficiency or immunodeficiency virus. Okay? Next is we have the condition. No? The condition for isosporiasis includes mild to gastrointestinal discomfort that can be severe dysentery. Common complication of a patient with isosporiasis includes weight loss, chronic diarrhea, abdominal pain, anorexia, weakness, and malaise. Eosinophilia may be visible in the stool sample. Now, this is nice. No, sabi natin, hindi lahat ng parasitic infection can cause eosinophilia. Usually, ang nagkakos ng eosinophilia ay sino? Si helminthic infections. Tama? Si helminthic infections. Pero, tandaan natin, yung pong ating other parasites, other protozoans, can also cause eosinophilia. Okay? So the presence of eosinophils in the stool is also possible or visible. Now, what do we mean by anorexia? Again, when we said anorexia, that is a eating disorder wherein it is characterized by a low body weight. Charcot-Leyden crystals is formed in the stool as response to eosinophilia. Okay, so severe infection of isosporiasis includes malabsorption, no, that is possible because of increased fats levels that may result into death. So aside from giardiasis, okay, increased fats in the stool can be seen also in isosporiasis. Treatment, consume blended diet or bland diet, plenty of rest for asymptomatic or mild infections. Well, of course, treatment. For more serious infections, chemotherapy, no? Chemotherapy is recommended, excuse me, with a combination of tritoprim and sulfamethoxazole or pyrimethamine and sulfadiazamine. Okay? Now, for patient with AIDS, low dose of chemotherapy for extended time may be necessary. Next in line is we have your Sarcocystis species, which is an oval shape. Okay? You might be confused because Sarcocystis species now is almost similar with the Isospora belli. Diba? Pero ano yung key point natin dito? Yung size po nila. Okay? Because the size of Isospora belli ranges from 25 to 35 micrometers long to 10 to 15 micrometers wide. Okay? While our Sarcocystis species is 10 to 18 micrometers long. Okay? And it is important to know also the same thing with the sporocyst of Isospora belli. There are four sausage-shaped sporozoites that can be found on the sporocyst of our Sarcocystis species. The same thing goes with our Isospora belli. There is what we call a clear or a colorless double layer of cell wall, that is enclosed, that is enclosed or that is seen in the sporocyst of our Isospora Sarcocystis species. Laboratory diagnosis includes the specimen, the stool specimen that will reveal the presence of our oocyst. Sometimes oocysts are already ruptured upon examination, and the only sporozoites will be seen. Okay, that's why a uh, serious examination of the stool is required. For routine histologic methods, it's also possible because it can be seen in striated muscles. Intermediate host required for asexual reproduction. Okay, and humans, intermediate host, no, Sarcocystis in human striated muscle. Now, what are the modes of transmission? We have the contamination or ingestion of contaminated pig or cattle meat. Okay. Take note that human serves as the definitive host wherein the oocyst will be seen from the stool of the patient. Accidental ingestion of the oocyst from animal other than pigs and cattle is also possible. Fever, severe diarrhea, weight loss, and abdominal pain are the symptoms or signs that is seen by the patient or seen in the patient with Sarcocystis species. Okay, that's the sign of invasion of intestinal tract. Muscle tenderness is also possible, most especially in striated muscle. Local symptoms of invasion of striated muscle is seen. So localized pain is experienced by a patient with invasion in the striated muscle. Okay, sulfamethoxazole is the drug for the Sarcocystis species. Okay. Infection of striated muscle, no non-specific chemotherapy. Next in line is we have the Cryptosporidium parvum oocyst, which is typically 4 to 6 micrometers long or wide, no average size of 4 to 6 micrometers, and it is interesting because the shape is roundish. Unlike Isospora belli and Sarcocystis, wherein their size is oval. Okay? Number of sporozoites, number of sporocysts is none. Okay? Wala po siyang sporocyst, but there is number of sporozoites. 4 small sporozoites. No? That is a dark granules that may contain 1 to 6 granules. Yung kanila, yung kay Isospora at saka kay Sarcocystis, ano sila? Yung kay Isospora at kay Sarcocystis, meron siyang sporozoites. At yung sporozoites niya is ay merong 4, okay? Meron siyang 4 na sausage shape. Okay? That is for Isospora and Sarcocystis. For Cryptosporidium parvum oocyst, meron lang siyang dark granules that may contain 1 to 6 granules. Other features, it has a thick cell wall and 1 to 6 dark granules that is visible in the in the sporozoites. Laboratory diagnosis includes iodine web preparation or modified acid-fast stain, and formalin-fixed smears with GEMSA stain is recommended. The same thing goes with Isospora belli. Entero test is also possible, and immunological tests such as ELISA or indirect immunofluorescence assays are widely available for the detection of our Cryptosporidium parvum. Zinc flotation or sugar flotation has proven to be a successful concentration techniques for us to differentiate or for us to visualize better the presence of our of Cryptosporidium parvum in the stool sample. Mode of transmission includes ingestion of infected oocyst from the food. The sporozoites that is seen in the oocyst will emerge in the upper gastrointestinal tract, causing infection to the human. Sexual and asexual reproduction occurs, while the rupture of sporozoites will result into the formation of what we call oocyst, which is now capable of causing or initiating autoinfection. So Kesh, aside from Kesh, we have to remember that Cryptosporidium parvum is also capable of causing autoinfection. Okay, so the oocyst is the oocyst serves as the infective stage for a new host that is passed through the feces. Okay, there are two forms of the oocyst. We have the thin-celled and the thick-shelled. Thin-shelled is presumed to initiate autoinfection, while the thick-shelled of the Cryptosporidium parvum is the one capable of causing new infection outside of the host. No? And it is only seen to cause autoinfection occasionally. Okay, so take note that cattle is the major host of our Cryptosporidium parvum. Okay, so this is the life cycle. The thick cell wall, okay, it is eliminated via feces that can be contaminated with food or water or drink. Okay, pwede rin po yung pagsuswimming, okay, na-ingest mo and then na-emerge sa ating intestine. So this is what happened in our body. So the oocyst, no? Kapag nasa body dyan, mag-emerge ang sporozoites. These sporozoites will be the one capable of initiating infection. So the tropozoite form, no? The tropozoite form of our parasite, of our Cryptosporidium parvum, okay, will undergo what we call asexual cycle or asexual reproduction. The macrogametocytes and wala pa pala yan. The asexual reproduction, the meron, dito pa nga pala yung macro and microgametocytes. No, the meron will undergo a sexual cycle or asexual reproduction to produce the merozoites. The type 2 meron, no, this is now the sexual cycle, will now be a merozoites. Okay? The undifferentiated gamot of the Cryptosporidium parvum will develop into macrogametocytes and microgametocytes. These gametes will now then unite, forming zygote. And this zygote is the union of the micro and macro gametocytes forming the two types of the oocyst, the thick cell wall and the thin cell wall, or the thin cell wall and the thick cell wall. Take note that the thick cell wall is usually the one that is passed through the stool and that initiates another infection to human, or another infection to the host, or to infection to another host. While the thin cell wall or the oocyst, the thin cell wall oocyst is the one capable of causing auto-infection. There are 20 known species that exist, no, ng Cryptosporidium. And it is only known that Cryptosporidium parvum is the one that can capable of causing infection. Okay, so again, person to person, ingestion. Ano congestion? Ingestion of contaminated water or food is the mode a mode of infection that initiates infection. Who are at risk? Immunocompromised patient, immunocompetent children in tropical areas uh, are at risk of acquiring Cryptosporidium parvum. So cryptosporidiasis is a self-limiting condition that can last for about 2 weeks. Okay. And there is what we call episodes of diarrhea that can last for 4 weeks. That is reported in Baker Center. Fever, nausea, vomiting, weight loss, and abdominal pain are the classic signs and symptoms of a patient with cryptosporidiosis. It is important and nice to know that cryptosporidiosis can be fatal in children, most especially if there is a increased number of fluid that is lost. Now, how about patients with immunodeficiency syndromes, such as AIDS? No, severe diarrhea is seen, and one of the more symptoms identified in the previous slides, no, is also seen, like nausea, vomiting, weight loss, and abdominal pain. And malabsorption is possible in cryptosporidiosis. Treatment, okay, most of treatments have been proven ineffective. However, sperimycin, although still experimental, shows a promising result against Cryptosporidium parvum. So the best way to prevent the spread of Cryptosporidium parvum is definitely to proper sanitation, handling of food, hand washing, and disinfection of the equipment, okay? Or precaution when working with known infected person. Next in line is we have your blastocystis hominis voculated form. No, why do we say so that this is a voculated form? Because as you can see, no, sobrang clear ng kanyang cytoplasm. And the nuclei of our blastocystis hominis can be seen on the edges or in the sides near the cell wall. Okay? The vacuole kasi is centrally located, that is fluid-filled structure, no? That consumes almost 90% of the cytoplasm of the organism. Again, take note that the nuclei is 2 to 4 that is seen on the periphery of the organism. Having said that this is an intestinal parasite, stool is the recommended sample of choice or the specimen of choice. And it is nice to know that saline wet preparation the saline wet preparation will usually lies the voculated form of our blastocystis hominis. Therefore, it is recommended for us to use iodine wet preparation, no, para din makita natin yung voculated form. The life cycle of blastocystis hominis includes the reproduction, or it produces sporulation or binary fission. It passes through numerous morphologic forms and participates in sexual and asexual reproduction that exhibits pseudopods extension and contraction. The clear and exact pathogenicity of blastocystis hominis remains unclear up until now. Who knows, one of these days, your research, no, will be able to figure out the clear and exact uh, transmission kung bakit ba nagkakameron ng blastocystis hominis. Okay? Blastocystis hominis, in absence of other intestinal pathogens, are considered as pathogenic. Okay? Symptoms include diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, abdominal cramping, fever, and abdominal pain. Treatment includes iodoquinol or metronidazole in cases where there is no obvious reason for symptoms of symptoms, except for diarrhea. Next in line is we have your Cyclospora cayetanensis. Cyclospora cayetanensis is typically 7 to 10 micrometers in diameter, and there are two sporocysts that can be seen. And each sporocyst is contain two sporozoites. Again, stool sample is recommended. However, stool samples concentrated without formalin is the one better. Okay, oocysts to sporulate best at room temperature. The addition of 5% potassium dichromate allows the sporocyst to become visible. Flotation by examination using bright field microscopy and acid-fast stain to differentiate the presence of the parasite. Ingestion of oocysts is definitely the mode of transmission, or the initiation of transmission, or the initiation of the infection. Sexual reproduction occurs in macro and microgametocyte production. Male and female macrogametocytes or male and female gametocytes unite to form oocysts which are passed in the stool. Okay? No animal reservoir host exists in this parasite. Now take note that Cyclospora cayetanensis is the positive agent of contaminated water that causes an outbreak in Chicago in physician's dormitory in the year 1990. They found out that contamination or ingestion of contaminated lettuce and fruits such as raspberry are also known to be the potential source of infection. That's why if you are going to eat lettuce, make sure that you wash it well. Okay? So clinical symptoms in cases in children are similar to those seen in cases of cryptosporuliosis. However, there are two notable differences. What are those? Number one, Cryptosporidium infection produced longer diarrhea and no connection in known between cyclospora and immunocompromised patient. Unlike a Cryptosporidium parvum, associated siya saan mga may rec immunodeficiencies. Okay? Next in line is we have your Microsporidia spore, which is typically 1 to 5 micrometers, a very small microorganism that is equipped with extruding polar filaments or tubules. Okay? And that is the one that initiates infection by ingesting the sporoplasm. Take note that the sporoplasm is the infectious material of our Microsporidia. If sporozoites is the infective material of the other parasites mentioned a while ago, sporoplasm is the infective or infectious material of Microsporidia. DNA testing reveals that Microsporidia are fungi. Okay? So Microsporidia known to cause human disease in human, okay, are the following: Enterocytozoon buneaci, Encephalidozoon species, Pleistophoras species. Again, these are the three species of Microsporidia that is known to cause disease in patients with AIDS: Enterocytozoon buneaci, Encephalidozoon species, Pleistophoras species. Okay? Laboratory diagnosis varies among species. Usually, serologic test is available for some species. Culture, no, will grow species of our parasite. Stains to detect all parts of the spore is recommended, usually the thin smear with trichome or acid-fast stain. Microsporidia appears on stain, no, appears as a positive in gram stain or gram positive, which is color violet, and partially positive in acid-fast. Kapag partially positive, edi nagpipink ang kulay. And in the histological stains, it appears positive in PAS, periodic acid shift, which stains glycogen. Molecular methods is being developed for this parasite. All right. For the life cycle, it is interesting to note that it may direct or may involve intermediate host. And when infected spores inject sporoplasm into the host cell, it now emerge, no, that typically infects new cells. Human infection is initiated by a direct transmission, no, wherein the spores are dispersed into outside environment via stool, urine, and even the death of the host. Spores may be ingested by a carnivorous animals. Okay, what are the infection, no, or the conditions that is involved in a person infected, no, may develop enteritis, keratoconjunctivitis, myositis. Now, the presence of these conditions are rare, peritonitis and hepatitis. Remember that enterocytozoon buoyancy is requires albendazole as the drug, and the suitable alternative for the medication is oral fumagidine, since as we all know that these microsporidia are now considered as fungi. The semi-infection includes albendazole plus fumagillin eye drops as the drug of choice. Next is we have our Toxoplasma gondii, tachyzoids, and bradyzoids. So this is the tachyzoids of our Toxoplasma gondii, and this is the bradyzoids of our Toxoplasma gondii. This is actually the tachyzoids, and this is actually the bradyzoids of our Toxoplasma gondii. Again, what is the difference between tachyzoids and bradyzoids? When we said bradyzoids, these are slow-growing viable form of the tropozoite that is resulted, no, in which hundreds to thousands of enclose themselves into the cyst. Ayan. Ito yung ating bradyzoids. No, naka-enclosed siya sa cyst. While the tachyzoids naman, on the other hand, is the active multiplying stage of our parasite. Okay, so this is this table gives us the different uh, the difference between Toxoplasma gondii bradyzoids and Toxoplasma gondii tachyzoids. So typically, tachyzoids is 3 to 7 to 2 to 4 micrometers, a crescent shape. So take note of this, a crescent shape. And there is a presence of one nuclei. Features contains organelles that are not readily visible. On the other hand, for our bradyzoid, this is slow-growing morphologic form of our Toxoplasma gondii, and it is similar to tachyzoids. However, bradyzoids are smaller than tachyzoids. Serologic testing for our Toxoplasma gondii is possible, and in congenital infections, no, IgM sandwich ELISA is possible. When you said sandwich, this is an immunological assay wherein there are two antibodies, no, and the antigen is in between the two antibodies. Examination for the presence of tachyzoids and bradyzoids are not practical. Okay. Accidental life cycle are more complex. Take note that cat serves as the definitive host and rats and mice as the intermediate host. Okay, so ano yun? Paano nangyayari yun? Cats ingest rats or mice contaminated with cyst in brain or muscle tissue. The cyst will release bradyzoids in the cat that transform into catizoids. Sexual and asexual reproduction occurs in the cat gut where the sexual cycle occurs. The production of immature oocysts passed in the cat feces. The rats and mice ingested infected oocysts as the forage for food. The sporozoites emerge from ingested oocysts and transformation of tachyzoids occurs in the rodent intestine. Okay, the tachyzoids will now then emerge to the brain or muscle and form a cyst and ready for passage to the cat. Okay. Now, human infections has four possible routes. Number one, ingestion via hand-to-mouth transmission of infected oocysts during food handling of infected cat feces. On the other hand, ingestion of contaminated cattle, pig, or sheep meat. Maganda itong tandaan ha. Contaminated cattle, pig, or sheep meat. Pag sinabi mong ingestion of contaminated cattle, imagine, yung buong baka kakainin mo. Yung meat ng cattle, pig, and sheep, no? Yun po yung other modes of transmission. Placental infection is also possible that occurs when a mother came, no, contact with contaminated feces. Pwede niyang matransfer sa kanyang baby. And via blood transfusion, although rare. Okay, once inside the human body, the leukocytes emerge and replicate, resulting in the tissue damage and initial infection. This is where the intermediate contain the bradyzoids in the tissue of the host, finally the cat, distributed host, pakain, pakain. Ingestion of cells in infected meat ng apat na ito will cause infection. Pwede po transmit other kanyang daily. In fact, ano yung nangyari? Correlated oocysts found in the feces and mature correlated oocysts. Yung feces part that contains the oocysts ay pwedeng makain ng mga ito. Develop kaya naman, ano yung nangyayari? There's what we call congenital infection. Wherein, what we call hydrocephalus or microcephaly. Sinabi natin microcephaly, there's microtic areas. Dala naman na. Let's see the symptoms. Myocarditis is also possible. Is also possible. Granular fever-like symptoms. Acute fever is possible. That there's a clinical pneumonia and parasitized mononuclear in the wrong time. Acute is also possible. And xenopathy, which includes reactive hyperplasia. Toxoplasmosis is a general term. The Toxoplasma gondii mimics the condition what we call is infectious mononucleosis. Infectious mononucleosis is a condition that is caused by a parasite, by a virus rather. I'm sorry. It is caused by herpes virus, particularly the Epstein-Barr virus. Okay, it mimics infectious mononucleosis, which is a condition associated sa person na mayroong Epstein-Barr virus. Usually, infectious mononucleosis occurs in teenager but can also be seen in any ages. Take note that Epstein-Barr virus or infectious mononucleosis is spread through saliva, in which some says that infectious mononucleosis is referred to be the kissing disease. Okay. Acute form of toxoplasmosis includes fatigue, lymphadenitis, fever, chills, headache, and myalgia. Ano ang ibig sabihin kapag sinabi nating myalgia? Okay. It means that it is a condition, no, wherein you have muscle pain or muscle ache. Okay. Muscle pain or muscle ache. Chronic form of toxoplasmosis includes uh, maculopapular rash, evidence of encephalomyelitis, okay, myocarditis, or hepatitis. For congenital toxoplasmosis, which includes the baby through placental transmission, there is a what we call severe infection that is often caused death. Okay. Years later, retinochloro, I'm sorry, retinochloroiditis may develop. Okay, and infected children may experience the following: hydrocephaly, microcephaly, intracerebral calcification, choriorantitis, convulsions, psychomotor disturbances, mental retardation, severe visual impairment, and even blindness. A cerebral toxoplasmosis in patient with AIDS includes headache and altered mental status, including confusions. And subsequent possible symptoms include focal neurologic deficits, brain lesions, and convulsions. Okay? Maganda ring tandaan natin na yung CSF-IgM, IgG rather. CSF-IgG is a diagnostic stage for cerebral toxoplasmosis. The treatment of choice includes trisulfopyrimidines and pyrimetamine, no? And for pregnant women, pyrimetamine is not appropriate. Okay. And other possible treatments will include corticosteroids, flunilic flunilic acid, and autovacuum. Prevention and control includes avoidance of contact with feces of cat via wearing protective gloves, disinfecting the litter box with boiling water and through hand washing afterwards, and placing protective cover over children's sandboxes when not in use. Okay? Well, definitely, thorough hand washing after handling contaminated meat and avoidance of consuming raw meat and thorough cooking of the meat is recommended. Next in line is we have the Pneumocystis jirovecii multiple forms. Okay, it appears 2 to 4 micrometers. It can be ovoid and amoeboid in shape, and there is only one nuclei. Okay, for the Pneumocystis jirovecii, it contains 4 to 8 unorganized rosette nuclei with a shape of roundish. Diameter is typically 4 to 12 micrometers. Once considered as a parasite, however, Pneumocystis jirovecii is now classified as fungus. Why? Because it is based on its morphologic and biological characteristics and even the DNA characteristics of Pneumocystis jirovecii. Method of choice includes Gromor's metaamine silver nitrate test, okay, or GEMSA and iron hematoxylin stains. Sputum may be used, bronchoalveolar lavage, tracheal aspirates, bronchial brushings, and lung tissues can be the specimen of choice for the laboratory diagnosis of Pneumocystis jirovecii. Okay, for the life cycle, it resides in the alveolar spaces in the lung tissue and may rupture, producing, multiplying, and feeding of the propozoites. The parasites may then migrate in the other organs, including spleen, lymph nodes, and bone marrow. Okay, take note that Pneumocystis jirovecii once presumed route, the presumed route of transmission is the transfer of pulmonary droplets from person infected through direct to direct contact. People with AIDS are at risk as well as children. And pneumocystosis is the interstitial plasma cell pneumonia in which is seen in immunocompromised adults and even children. Pneumocystosis is non-productive cough, fever, rapid respirations, and cyanosis. Okay? All infected patients exhibit infiltrate on X-ray and breathing difficulties. Prognosis is usually poor. Treatment includes tritomphrin or sulfamethoxazole, okay, which is considered as the first line of the drugs. Alternatives such as pentadimidine, okay, and isotretinoin, as well as cotrimazole are the drugs of choice for our Pneumocystis jirovecii. Prevention and control is poorly understood. Okay, based on the presumed person-to-person transmission route, okay, then it is important to wear mask. Kung ito nga ay talagang person-to-person or via droplets. And then, thank you very much, and I hope you understand topic about coccidians and ciliates. Please scan this QR code and rate your satisfaction. Once again, mga kapara, this is Sir Mark wishing you all the best. Good day and God bless you all.